What do I do with my? What do I? With my hands.
Well, they don't go there. I can tell you that much right now.
I think the car drove real good. I think we did fine out there. It was good.
All right, these guys aren't John C. Riley, and I'm not Will Ferrell, but this is BV Dub, the best damn jockstrap nerd chat radio show on the internet. Don't know why I said radio, because that's stupid, because we're not on the radio whatsoever.
You don't know that.
iTunes is like the radio for the internet machine.
On the internet radio, I'm Justin. To my right, we got Chris. Say something. To my left, we got Joel.
Hi guys.
Now let's go ahead and get started. Joel, what do we got first?
Well, with the release of the Nintendo Switch being right around the corner here in March, we decided we wanted to go through that a little bit, talk about the Nintendo Switch, what we're looking forward to, what we're a little bit having reservations on. But let's start with the hardware.
So I got the hardware pulled up right here.
Okay.
I think it's no surprise to anybody that there's nothing shocking about the hardware. I mean, it's not 8 teraflops of processing power. Not that anybody here knows what teraflops are. I don't know what teraflops are. I don't know. Do you know what teraflops are?
I have a vague idea of what they might be.
Okay, please tell me.
I feel like they are an exaggerated, large amount that you're making up right now.
No, that's a real thing.
Well, I know, but I don't think you know what it is either.
No, I don't. I have no idea. That's the funny thing about
Which
it.
is why I'm saying you're making it up.
But I'm not making it up. It's a fact, because
It's not a
the
fact if you don't actually know
Scorpio
it.
the
It's an
Scorpio
arbitrary
has
number you
6
just threw out.
teraflops of processing power. That's what I know for a fact. Do I know what that means? No, I do not.
Sounds like a lot.
It sounds like a lot. Like, it's definitely more than a billion, right?
Who decided that a flop was going to be a unit of measurement for power? Because that's just a ridiculous.
Because we used to run off of floppy disks.
It went from bytes to flops, like real quick.
You go bytes, gigs, or bytes, megs,
feel-
gigs.
I feel like that's like dropping off a cliff. Bytes makes gigs, flops.
Well, surprisingly, this is not going to flop. You already can't get these.
But anyway, the point we're trying to get across is that it's not going to blow you away with the processing power like Microsoft and Sony are trying to go for right now. They're really trying to go with that 4K display and have more powerful consoles. But Nintendo Switch is very much more concentrated on their own type of thing, which Nintendo always has been.
Which, can you really be surprised at all? I mean, every Nintendo game, console, anything that's ever come out, it's their demo is families. It's not hardcore gamers. It's not, which even hardcore gamer I don't really particularly like, and I kind of feel dumb for using that term because it's a silly thing. Because most people think of hardcore gamers as what is it, Counter-Strike, or is that what it is? Yeah,
Yeah, Counter-Strike.
that's on
like anything along
that's
those
any kind of
lines,
shooter
Half-Life.
of some sort.
Anything really Valve centered.
Yeah. But it seems silly to use that kind of term to begin with, but that's neither here nor there. It's I guess I'm somewhat excited for it because I have the Wii U, and I don't think I've used it in like 6 or 7 months. And part of it is because there's no games that really pull me towards it because visually for me, I like games that are really pretty. I've always been big fans of Assassin's Creed. I'm a huge fan of For Honor, which we've been playing a lot recently. Yeah. And there's things like those are the kind of games that I really like. I didn't play Fallout a lot, but I played it a little bit. It's another gorgeous game. So with Nintendo, I think you have to understand that when you're getting into a system that producer, you're not going to get that. But you're going to get a really fun game. And I remember all throughout college, I had a fantastic time playing Smash Brothers or Mario Party. And, there's...
Played the hell out of Smash Brothers and Mario Party.
Exactly.
But a lot of the times we were just playing on old consoles. Like we were playing...
like on N64.
Yeah, we were playing 64. Like the 64 Mario Parties, they still hold up. They're
So
fantastic.
perfect.
Didn't they have like 8 of them on the N64?
Yeah,
I
I think
there was
so.
8 just on the N64.
But those are perfect examples of something where you can't be... You can't knock
graphics.
Nintendo for something when you're still playing 64. You can't knock them for that, but I think you have to kind of knock them a little bit because they kind of are refusing to go forward with what everyone else is doing, which is
I don't knock
admirable.
them for that, really. I just think that they realize that they aren't going to compete with Sony and with Microsoft
But-
when it comes to
but
that
could they,
kind of
though?
stuff. But they don't want to. They have their own market, and that's why they can keep the cost down a little bit on their consoles, but still keep selling the games that they have just the distinct rights to, like all the Mario stuff.
If we step into a world where the Switch flops, how awesome would it be if all those characters and all those stories came to every other console and you didn't have to buy
Well,
Nintendo?
to that point, and I can actually maybe ask you guys both a question really quick. Is to that point, Nintendo's already slowly releasing that a little bit. I mean, you can download that Mario Run game on iOS now.
Fantastic.
And
game,
they're
by the
going to be,
way.
Yeah.
I paid for it. I paid the $10.
Spends a lot of time pooping playing that game.
It's a great pooping game.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Well, it's just like Temple Run, but way better because it's Mario.
Yeah.
But it's going to be released on Android here pretty soon if it's not already.
I want to say it's in the middle of March.
Yeah, you're pretty quick. But to your point of your argument with the price point and how you were talking about the power and whatever Nintendo can offer as far as output for the game, is I understand where you're coming from. Is well, they're only charging $300 because they're not pushing out a very powerful system, but are they really doing that because it's not very powerful, or are they doing it because all the accessories you have to buy to make the Switch really work the way they advertise are absurdly expensive? If
Yeah,
you
that
look
is
at
true.
the,
That's
kinda how
the
it's- that's
controllers
kinda how
are what
Nintendo's been doing it for a
controllers are
long
what
time.
$60-$70. Like
Yeah,
I mean,
for a
when it's all said
Joy-Con,
and
you're
done,
looking at, like,
if you want that experience they gave you in the commercials, all the things that we not commercials but pre-advertisement,
Nintendo
it's
definitely
$500 system.
for a very long time. Nintendo's been going with like they have a lower price point for their starter console, but they don't ever tell you that like if you actually want to play these games and you actually want to play with your friends, then you have to spend the extra, which is going to amount to $250 for all the controllers and all the accessories and everything
Exactly.
else that's going to come with it. if
Holy
you actually wanna play.
shit. I don't mean to interrupt you, but
No,
that
go
is
ahead.
the Joy-Con
did, though.
controllers. The standard
I saw
Joy-Con
that, yeah.
controller is $80
Exactly. That's
compared
exactly
to
my
an
point.
Xbox, which is 50.
So
and a
Add
PlayStation
that
4
all
is
up.
$50 for a
I mean,
controller.
you're gonna probably want a couple for friends.
That's
At least
ridiculous.
you and one other person. That's all of a sudden a $500 system. Are they really doing you any favors?
Well, and they're also going
No.
for like a lot of more gimmicky things. Like they have the tablet that basically docks at the Nintendo Switch docking station, which goes to your TV. But then you can take it on the go with you, and
Which is
And you
cool.
drop it down. Yeah, it's a very cool idea. And those little Joy-Con controllers, like you were saying, they're $80, but they're actually if you take them on the go, you can use them as
You
two
can
controllers
for certain games.
for certain games.
For
Like
certain
there's like a
and
draw
we don't know.
game
I mean, it's a very cool idea, but we don't know how well that's going to work with everything. And I've also heard that the battery life is pretty bad on those iPads. Like, and it's like 40%, or like you get a couple hours.
Yeah, you're
worth.
getting maybe
No.
like on Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, you're bound to get about 3 hours of screen on time.
See, what I read earlier today, right before we did this, actually, was they're estimating anywhere between 4 and 6.
For any game, but for a high
something that's running
for a
like
high
A high
intensive
resolution game, yeah.
because this is a high intensive game, like graphics wise, they were saying 3 hours, which is, I guess you could say in the middle, but
Yeah, and I mean, I'm gonna reserve a lot of my reservations until I actually get my hands on
Reserve reservations.
one. I did say that. I just said that.
I'd like
you're
to
gonna hold
reserve,
your reservation.
Hold
to
my
reserve-
reservations.
Reserve some reservations.
But I'm reserving my judgments, is what I meant to say. And I actually really want to see how this game or how this actually plays. I mean, I think it'll obviously look good, but I mean, Nintendo's always been behind. Like they didn't have an HD console until they had the Wii U. Whereas, I mean, Sony has been there since PlayStation 3 and Xbox since the 360. So they were about 8 years behind on that.
Yeah, if you look generationally when they come out, yeah.
Like they literally didn't have until the Wii U. They didn't have HD.
But the kind of games that they offer don't require that, so it's understandable from that standpoint. Because if you've played any of the games, like NBA 2K, any of those sports games, none of those all play in that lower resolution, but they're not going for the hardcore gamer They're going for.
Well, I don't think that's just
they're
a
going
hardcore
for-
gamer that's going for the higher resolution, the higher frame rates.
I'm saying what Nintendo's going for is that they're going for kids. Their demographic is definitely probably I don't know whatever the age group would be 8 to 14.
Well, it's a mixture
13.
of kids and it's also
Families.
but it's also just like nostalgia seekers people who love Mario. I mean, I always love Mario. That's what I wanted to get into next was the games that we're actually excited for, and we're right now as of now. I don't know. Did you have the actual launch?
I do have the launch here. I was trying to look up because when he brought up the fact that you're going to have to pay for things to play with the system. The system itself comes with 32 gigs of memory. I know you both have Xboxes. I have a PlayStation 4. I have about 8 games right now, and I'm maxed out on space.
Yeah, well,
with 500 gigs
I'm not
of space.
stupid, and I have a 3 terabyte hard drive.
Which
That
I'm
is
super excited.
easily-
PlayStation is bringing support to in the next couple weeks.
Oh,
so excited.
What is that, Joel? A few years later.
Yeah, welcome to 2012.
Yeah, 2012. Talk to me when you guys have some really good, actually worthwhile exclusives. Horizon Zero Dawn coming out the 28th. For launch games, on the day of launch, we got 1-2 Switch, which I was listening to Kind of Funny Games today, and they may have changed my mind on 1-2 Switch. I talked mad shit on 1-2 Switch for the longest time.
Is that the where you can duel?
Yeah, it comes with 24 different
It's basically
mini games,
You remember that
Wii Sports?
Yeah, they had Wii Sports. It's
but
like that.
it doesn't come with it. You have to pay $40 for it. That's something that kind of sucks.
So now we're talking 300 plus 40. So now we're at
Want
340.
a second controller, another 80.
So now we're at $420.
So we're all going in on this and making it a company purchase, right, guys?
Well, I'm sure shit not going to buy it by myself. I am not excited about this
I'm not
console
that
enough to buy
excited
it.
about it. to
Not
buy
that
it.
excited.
You know what I am excited for on this list of games that's coming out soon is Zelda.
Well,
Easily, probably one of my favorite franchises of all time.
You know, I was thinking
I
about
love it.
and
I
I was
tattooed
like,
it.
why do I like Zelda so
Wow.
much? Because I've never finished. I thought that I never finished a Zelda game. I didn't finish Majora's Mask. I didn't finish.
Stupid.
I didn't finish. Was it Ocarina of Time?
Stupider.
I know it was very stupid of me, but I was like, why do I feel this this tie to Zelda? And it's because I thought about it, and I believe it was the one on SNES. It was
Yeah.
on Link in Time, right?
yeah, Lincoln Time.
That was the very first game that I ever beat from start to finish. I didn't
Really?
have any help, no nothing.
That's the
And I
first
was like,
time you felt that.
that rush, and it just like I'm not even kidding. This literally happened when I got home because I was listening to a podcast on the way here, and they were talking about the new Zelda game, and I was like, why do I feel this connection to Zelda when I've never finished one of the games? And I was like, oh shit, I did. It's the first one I ever did. I want to. I don't even know how old I was. I was young. It took me months upon months upon months to get to the point that I beat it, but I did. And now I realize that's why I've always had this tie to that story.
That might actually be one of the first games I think I ever beat too. The one that I just is most memorable and probably the one that I had the most fun beating was Ocarina of Time. That's why when you said you hadn't played it.
No.
didn't finish
I
it.
didn't finish it because my brother.
I played that like
my
2
brother had
years
it,
ago and beat it again.
and I would just like grab my flute and I'd call my horse. And I just ride the horse for like hours on end.
Because that was a thing. That probably one of the first like massive open map games like that too.
Yeah, it was at the
Which
birth
was
of
almost
open
annoying
world.
because you know how? Do you remember how long that would take to get like across?
Oh, and it was
Like,
so
it
empty.
would be Sunday and then sunset by the time you got to
By
the
the
other
time you
side.
got across the map.
Yeah, it was pretty great. I honestly but I'm with you. I actually was never that big into Zelda. I did beat the oh god, you just mentioned it.
Ocarina of Time.
No, not Ocarina
Link-
of Time.
Link
to
in
the
Time.
Past.
Link to the Past.
Link to the Past, yes. That was one of the early ones I beat too. And I've always been a Nintendo fan because that was the first console my family owned, and that's the first thing I remember. Like some of my earliest memories were staying up all night trying to beat the Ninja Turtles games downstairs because you couldn't save, so you had to either leave the console on, or you had to actually continue on
Which
try
do
and
you remember
go
how
all night.
resilient those games were? You could leave a Super Nintendo on for days,
Yeah.
and it wouldn't overheat or shut down.
I honestly was exclusively Nintendo all the way through the GameCube, and
So was I.
Yeah, and
Which the GameCube is, I think, grossly.
a lot of my friends were very much into the PlayStation because they were the first to adopt the discs and everything like that, and they had a lot more versatility. But I was just I couldn't live without new Mario and new like the Smash Brothers franchise, especially.
Oh god, we
That's
played
been,
all through college. We played that.
Yeah, the N64. I mean, I was
Or Mario Kart.
yeah, or Mario Kart. But Smash Brothers was my favorite game for years, and I was Kirby all the time, and everyone hated me because he's that dickhole. Yeah, he's that dickhole who would suck you up, but then you would knock him off the map, and he could also kind of fly.
Just all the way back.
Slowly get back, and then turn into a block right on top of your fucking head.
Game & Watch was where it's at. Like
Game & Watch, I fucking hated you with Game & Watch.
Well, if you ever
he's such
looked
an
at-
asshole because he moves so ticky. Like he literally moves frame by frame, which is kind of his shtick. But it was also just incredibly frustrating to fight because you couldn't see him moving into moves.
I also
Like,
was
you could
just
see him
like
actually
I was also
flowing.
just absurdly good with him though. If you
You
ever
were,
looked at
and it was very
if
frustrating.
you looked at the power play the strategy guide games and stuff like that, he was
Yeah.
always one of the worst rated characters. So if you played with him, the book would tell you he's not a very good character, but you just have to be really good with him. And I was just stupidly good with him.
Yeah, but
Dude, I would play
with the
online
original N64 though.
Beat people.
The original N64, the best player I've ever seen on that was Shockley. He was Jake Shockley was with Pikachu, which was a very ridiculous character in the original.
And it was
the
a thing
Super
that you
Smash
couldn't
Brothers.
push in a software update to fix.
Yeah.
That he needed
He just
nowadays
had
he would
these
have been
OP
nerfed.
moves, and yeah, he would be nerfed in nowadays, but he had these OP moves, and Jake was just so good with them.
But which is funny because
Kicked
when
my
they could
ass.
nerf him, when they finally made the Wii, that's when Jake wasn't very good with him anymore.
Yeah,
And then he would get pissed that we cheated.
but that was kind of why, like, I only bring that up because I've just always had such a place in my heart for those kind of games because they were what I grew up with first, and I didn't switch to the Xbox until about 2004. Okay, so
Obviously.
what are you guys excited about for the actual Switch? Like, I mean, we've talked about a little bit about our reservations, but like, what really excites you about it?
3 words: Mario Kart 8.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's good enough. That's
I've always loved the Mario Kart games, and I've missed them so much since my departure from Mario.
I
or from
recently,
Nintendo.
and I think I posted this, but I recently saw someone actually posted the rules for Drunk Driver. Remember we used to play that?
yeah.
We used to play that in
You
college.
tagged me in that.
Yeah,
if you haven't played it, by the way, it's a
Yeah,
good way to
basi-
get drunker and shit. Real
basically
fast.
all you do is you race your friends in Mario Kart, and when you are racing them, you also have a beer, and
Which
basically
you
the
can't
only
crack that beer until the race starts.
you can't crack it till the
And
race
you can't
starts.
touch it either.
And the only real rule is that you can't touch the beer while touching the controller because you
can't
can't
drink
drink
and
and drive.
In real
so-
life or in the video game.
So you have
Don't do either.
and you also have to finish the beer before you finish the race. And so you can do that any way you want. You can chug the entire beer and then race. You can go one lap at a time and then drink a little bit. It's however you want
You
to do
can
it.
get to the finish line and chug it at the
But
end.
I just saw that randomly on Facebook that someone posted that, and I was just like, I thought that was our game. I thought we made that up at some point, but maybe it was just this like massive thing that just
I thought
that
we
made
did-
that made its way around.
Well, I don't think we saw from anywhere. I think we made that up ourselves. Whether it was a thing.
Well,
or
I mean,
not.
there's parallel thinking. Like parallel thinking
yeah,
happens
the-
all the time. And so
it
I
was,
think
it
that's-
was
I
just
think it's
incredible to me to actually
perfect
see
case of that.
someone made like a whole rules list and this like graphic of it and everything like that. I was like, I really thought we made that up. I'm excited for the possibility of a new Smash Brothers, which they haven't announced yet. But I mean,
it's
it's
gonna
Nintendo.
There's no way they're not.
There's no way they wouldn't.
They like money.
Yeah, and Smash Brothers, it's only gotten. I mean, honestly, like with the Wii U, it got a lot better in some senses. I loved the Wii U Smash Brothers. I just
It
never
didn't get a
really
very
did
good
play
rating
it
when
that
they had
much.
Brawl on the GameCube.
On the GameCube.
And I thought that was probably one of my more favorite ones. And that controller
I thought Melee
was probably.
GameCube.
Was Brawl was the
Brawl
Wii
was
U.
Wii.
Or Brawl was the Wii.
Oh, you're right. It was
And then
Melee. You're right.
Wii U just went back to.
I loved
Smash
it though.
Brothers.
The controller that it came with, I thought was awesome. I loved the controller because the C stick did all your other moves if you wanted to. You actually had jump buttons, everything, and it got so much shit. But then when you wanted to play the new Smash Brothers, that was one of the controllers you could buy. But for that game, the perfect controller, and that's why they remade it for the Wii. They made the backwards compatible adapter for it, which both were hard to find. You couldn't. It was really hard to find the controller. You had to order it. or pre-order it or wait for it on a back order. And those adapters for a long time you couldn't find anywhere.
Yeah. It was a good controller for that sense, but I mean, we played a lot of Smash Brothers. Mike's was the only place I ever played tournaments, and I was just mediocre at best.
I know. I went
game.
over there and played a Game & Watch. Pissed everybody off because it was way too good with them.
Yeah. But anyway, that's what I'm excited for.
Zelda. I can't wait.
Zelda's
And
gonna be
Nintendo's dumb. They made it compatible with the Wii U, so that thing's about to get dusted the fuck off, and I'm gonna start using it because I can't wait.
If they didn't have Zelda, they really wouldn't have shit for like games on the launch console. Like they would.
Oh, they
Zelda,
would have it. Like I'll go through the games launching on
The
March 3rd.
Splatoon thing we talked about earlier. I
Not
played
coming
that.
out.
Yeah.
It's not
It's
on
not a
release.
launch. So launch, you got 1-2 Switch, which, like I said, I talk shit on. I kind of take it back. We'll see. There's 24 mini games. We'll see what happens.
I'm sure it'll be fun. Nintendo always has really fun room games.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Then they got The Binding of Isaac,
Don't know
Afterbirth Plus.
don't
know
what
idea.
it
idea.
is.
Just Dance 2017. You can
those
get that
games
on
were
any other
stupid.
game.
Yeah, you could
Or
have
any
played
other
that.
game
You could
system.
play on the Wii. It'd be
Human
fun.
Resource Machine, which is just I don't even know.
What is
I Am Setsuna that came out 2 years ago on Xbox and PlayStation 4. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, the only one worth a damn. Little Inferno, don't know what it is. Skylanders Imaginers for kids. Super Bomberman R, very cool. Not a strong launch title. It's cool. It's a throwback, but
Yeah, I
I
remember
don't think it's a good
Bomberman.
launch title. And then World of Goo, something I can get on this and take to the shitter at any time. And something much smaller and easier to do while
Something that
shitting.
also sounds really gross.
I'm just saying.
It doesn't sound
World
much
of
fun.
Goo.
World of Goo.
I mean, realistically, I guess we could probably say that we're not super excited about the console one because we're not blown away by power, resolution, any of that stuff. There's a handful of games we want to play. Half those games, probably 3/4 of those games you just listed, I don't know what they are, but
Snipper Clips, which I've heard good things about, is supposed to come out in March 2017.
well, then when I said Splatoon, it did
honestly-
really good on the Wii U. So
honestly,
I'm assuming
when
once
the-
they release it and it's a revamped version of it on the Switch, it's probably gonna. I mean, they do.
It's not even a. It's not even a.
stuff with
It's
it.
not
Yeah,
a
that's what-
relaunch.
that's what
It's
kinda
actually Splatoon 2. I thought it was a relaunch.
Oh,
what
it's a
kinda
new-
But
drives
it's
me
actually number 2 altogether.
Kind of drives me crazy about Nintendo though is that like they are already sold out before this thing even launched.
It's been sold out for.
It's been
Because
sold out
they
for
control it.
but at the same time they have no launch titles. Like why are people buying this? Like unless you want to play Legend of Zelda, which you can also play on the Wii U.
I think it's
then
people.
why?
It's people like me. It's people like me. It's people like you that didn't buy it previously.
Do you think we might be slightly biased because we grew up with Nintendo, so we know Sonic and Mario and Zelda, and kids these days, that's not what they know.
I think the biggest thing about
Like,
it
think about
is-
it. Go ask a 10-year-old right now and name the five most the 5 characters they know that Nintendo does. I guarantee you wouldn't be the
I'll
same
trust-
5 we know.
Trust me, I live with a 10-year-old and he is his his view on games is way different because of things like Twitch and YouTube where you can actually for the games you can't buy or your parents won't buy for you, you can just sit and watch people play.
so crazy.
So maybe our bias is just
If we
our-
want,
our- it's
but
our
if we
generation.
wanted to do that as kids, we just go over to a friend's house whose parents would buy it for them.
Yeah.
But now they can
Does
just
your
do that
nephew even have a
online.
bike?
Yes, he does.
Does he? I feel like kids don't even have bikes these days anymore.
No, they still have bikes.
I'm sure shit.
That's-
No, he doesn't put cards in there or cans and make it sound like a motorcycle.
Hey, we'll all see what happens in about 12 days. Nintendo Switch is going to launch.
Well,
Moving on.
Once we do get one, we'll have whole new views on this. But we're going to move on and get into a little bit of sports action. We're going to go with the NCAA this week because so far all we've talked about is the Super Bowl, really. In 2
We
episodes.
like other sports too, although I'm not going to lie.
In
and
2
you guys
episodes, we've
know
only talked about one game of sports.
Tom Brady
So
for
here you
president.
go, you jockstrap assholes.
Like I said, I'm going to be totally honest.
Jockstrap back in the nerd jet.
I have not followed NCAA at all this year. I've been looking at what Arizona's been doing, and I'm very proud to say, Wildcats, the real Wildcats, are standing strong at number.
I don't
Can I
think
get a drum roll? Drum roll.
You
Somebody?
will be getting none.
go
I would,
fuck
I
yourself
would
is what you
love to
can
get
do.
a drum roll. Okay, I think they're number 7.
So before he continues to keep talking
that's pretty
gibberish, we technically are all Wildcats here. Me and Joel both went to Kansas State University, and he went to stupid Arizona State. Or
Although-
Arizona.
Although I will preface that I grew up in a household full of Jayhawks fans, and that is my team at heart.
Well, I mean, I don't know a lot about NCAA basketball, but there's a number 5 next to Arizona. Where's Kansas State?
Kansas is at 3.
But
That's
where's
my
Kansas
team.
State?
They're-
This is
they're
the
a
guy
little ways
talking
down
shit.
there. They're a little ways down there.
All right.
They also play in the
I don't
best
think he's
conference
talking
in the country.
Let's not talk about conferences because the Pac-12 is the most stacked conference in all sports. Period.
Not in basketball, and that's for sure.
No, you're fake news.
So anyway, before we get too much further,
Are you
so
just
everybody
trumping it right
knows-
now?
So,
Do you just trumpet on the back?
a lot of what we talk about
definitely
sports-wise
did.
when it
Wrong.
comes to, I'd say college sports at least, will be slightly biased. So don't be surprised on the Big 12 and the Pac-12.
Pac-12 rules.
So
Yeah, for
Be
me,
prepared.
like I said, I grew up as a Jayhawks fan, which basically, if you're a Jayhawks fan, you're only a fan of NCAA basketball because that's the sport that they do well. And they
because your typical thing is, can wait till basketball season.
That's also a very typical thing for an
says the
Arizona fan.
says the K-State Wildcats fans like just wait till football season.
Yeah, but we're always just mediocre in basketball. At least we're not fucking awful in football.
Yeah, who won a bowl game in the actual like BCS? Most recently?
Who just won
Most
their first
recently?
Big 12 football game in years.
Most recently though? Was it most recently? Because I feel like the Orange Bowl was run by the Jayhawks most recently.
It's impressive how high you got your
That was
voice to go.
really high, bro.
So anyway, basketball. We have a list of the current bubble teams. Who do we have first 4 in?
First 4 in at the moment, and this is as of
I guess it would have been yesterday before today's games.
Do me a favor. I know I'm not the only person. There's some nerd people out there that have no idea what bubble team means. What is a bubble team?
So a bubble team is there's a group of 68 teams that make it to the tournament, and there's the first 4 teams they have that will be essentially 65, 6, 7, and 8, and then the last 4
they basically
teams
describe the
outside.
if you're on the bubble, that means it could pop at any moment, and you could either be in or out.
You could be
of
in
the
or out.
tournament.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
That was a perfect way to put it because when you said it was like the top 5 or 4 and the bottom 4, I was
So
like,
basically, when you say like they have like 4 people that are in the tournament, but they're on the bubble, meaning that if they lose, they could potentially just be right out of the tournament.
And if they win, they'd help their
within
case of
one
making
game.
the tournament.
But at the moment, what ESPN is reporting as the bubble teams is Michigan State.
go Spartans.
No, sorry, not Michigan State.
Oh.
Michigan.
No, Michigan State.
Go Wolverines.
And first 4 out.
Yeah, Michigan State is actually kind of on the outside, especially because who'd they lose to this weekend? Oh, Purdue. They lost to Purdue this week.
Yeah, but Purdue's ranked though, so it's not an awful.
Yeah, but they're
loss.
8-6 in the pack or in the Big Ten, and the Big Ten's not that good. I mean, they're saying that Northwestern's going to be in as like a 7 seed, and Michigan State might not
Yeah, I
even
saw
be in.
that.
Northwestern. That's a school that I've never heard
Northwestern-
of outside of like.
Northwestern is a
people.
fantastic journalism school, and they're really good academically, but they have not made the NCAA tournament in 39 years. And they're saying that they're going to make this year, and Michigan State might not in the same conference.
Which is traditionally a powerhouse basketball team. It's just sports team in
Traditionally,
general.
one of the
Yeah.
like they're always one of the like top 6 teams when it's like Kansas, Kentucky, Michigan State, UCLA, in North Carolina, and Duke. Those are like the top 6 like most perennial good teams.
Did you say Kentucky? Did you ignore them?
He said
No, I said
Kentucky.
Kentucky.
I heard it. 'Cause I thought of fried chicken.
They
immediately
don't surprise.
afterwards.
They surprisingly don't actually look great this year. They look good, but
Yeah. Yeah.
Who do we got? We got Georgia. Georgia's running everything on.
so anyway,
both
real quick,
things.
first 4 in. List them
Oh,
off.
yeah. As of now, Michigan, Seton Hall, Arkansas, and Syracuse are the last 4 in. And then
First 4
Syracuse
out.
Orange.
First 4
So
out.
first 4 out, looking in, not making the tournament as of today.
Clemson, Georgetown, Georgia Tech, and Marquette.
Oh man, it hurts me to hear that Syracuse is out. I spent some time in Syracuse. Beautiful town. Beautiful town.
Is it?
Oh yeah, you could buy a great house there for like. When I say great, I mean a very shitty house for like $10,000. True fact.
For 10,000?
$10,000.
You know what $10,000 does here? That doesn't even pay my fucking rent for a year.
They'll pay your rent for about
I'd say 11
7?
months.
No.
11, yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm saying if you split your rent the way you have it split because you have a roommate. If you didn't have a roommate, it would be like 7, including utilities.
I'd make it a year.
Yeah, like Chris said, we're kind of biased towards the Big 12 because that's where we've been basketball fans of that for teams in that conference for a very long time.
We're both from Kansas originally, so we were bound to either grow up a Kansas State fan or a KU fan.
And in my totally unbiased opinion, the Big 12 has been the best conference for years and never gets the rap that they should, and it's bullshit, and that's totally unbiased of me.
And unbiasedly, I agree with all of that.
And very biasedly, he thinks the Pac-12 is good, which is just bullshit.
Let's take a look and see.
Putting the Pac-12 in the same conversation as the Big 12 and unfortunately and annoyingly the SEC, that's a joke. You got to be real with yourself.
I'm just kidding.
Well, I'm gonna
UCLA
say-
actually
I'm
has
gonna
been
say
really
so
good this
in the
year.
Pac-12,
We were obviously
there's
just
12
fucking around,
teams. Yes, Pac-12 has 12 teams, right?
but yes.
UCLA, really
No, no,
quick,
no,
is
no, no.
arguably
No, no,
probably
before-
the
no,
most
no, no, no.
fun to watch.
Doesn't matter. Arizona, UCLA, Oregon.
Nothing.
Hold on.
Nothing.
And I'm gonna go through the other one real fast.
Didn't Oregon get their shit kicked in by Colorado earlier in the year?
Yeah, they did.
A team who won't make the tournament.
Yeah, just push their shit.
You don't
right
speak
in.
ill of the Buffaloes. We are merely 20 miles away from them. They will hear you.
Yeah, they lifted the Big 12.
We're
and
not
they've been dog
speaking ill.
shit
We're
since.
speaking ill of Oregon for losing to that shit team.
Well, I'll talk shit about Colorado too. Aren't they under some
But still,
investigation for
that's
their football
3
team?
out of 12, so that's 1/4.
Yeah.
That's just shy of 1/4.
And
I
we
mean,
got, I mean, the
that's
Big
1/4.
12 right now is Kansas, Baylor, and West Virginia, obviously. But it really drops off from there. I think they also have 3.
Three
right?
what, in the top
3
25?
total. Yeah.
And where are you guys at? Because mine are 5, 6, 7. You got Kansas up at 3.
3, 4, and 9.
Oh, there we go. Sorry.
If you actually want to go just on like teams that don't make the tournament, though,
If you're going by pure rankings, it's actually pretty even.
yeah. But if you actually want to go on teams that don't make the tournament, though, the Big 12 probably has half the conference going.
No, when do we have the tournament started? You guys know off the top of your head?
14th.
The 14th.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there? Like I said, I don't pay attention to it. I always go for Arizona, but I don't follow it very well. What are the chances of Arizona going against a Big 12 team?
I don't know. It's kind of hard to say because it could change because depending on how
It's
they
all
finish
seed.
up,
It's all seed.
it's
level,
all
right?
seeded, but it's also in
Now,
different
Arizona
regions.
will definitely be a 1 or 2 seed at the moment, as long as they don't drop
Yeah,
off.
because they're still leading.
As long as they don't drop off from now, I'm
If they
guessing.
lose a
I'm
couple
guessing they'll
games.
get a 2 seed, but if they end up winning the Pac-12 tournament, they'll get a 1 seed for sure.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, at that rate, I'm guessing they'll end up playing like a middle of the rung. The way they always like put it.
No, it's 32 teams into the tournament. 64. Okay.
So, well,
68
technically 68
technically.
now. Yeah. They have the first day. There's 2 rounds of 2 teams that are on the outside looking into the 64.
Okay.
Yeah, it gets a little complex, but they.
I just remember it was 2000. I was in Texas, so it was right before 2011. I want to say, it was March Madness. I was living in Austin at the time, and Arizona was playing the Longhorns, and we won like at the last minute. And I was the only person in that bar that was singly hated by everybody else in that bar. It was a great moment for me.
Oh, trust me, I know that feeling being in that bar because I'm a Chiefs fan that lives in the Denver area. So
As am I. It's not the funnest thing in the world.
I remember when we like went and watched.
It's even the same when we were in
Well,
Manhattan. You were the only KU fan in a
Yeah.
sea of purple.
Yeah,
It's got to be rough. Did you like hate yourself for being a Wildcat? You're like,
no, I've always
You oddly
I've
grown
always
allegiance to the school you go to. It's weird.
But see, that's
Yeah.
that's the thing. Like, I've never when I grew up, Kansas State isn't Kansas's rival. Missouri was Kansas's rival, and then,
which is
and then
weird for
Missouri,
me.
And then
coming
Missouri
from
went to
Arizona,
the SEC.
where Arizona State is like they're like every time somebody comes into my place of work wearing an Arizona State hoodie, I'll make fun of them. And I work in a place where if you make fun of people, you're gonna hear about it. But I still do it because it's like ingrained in me to make fun of them.
Well, in my opinion, this I've always said this, but in my opinion, like in my perfect world, Kansas would be number 1 in everything, and Kansas State would be number 2 in everything. Like every championship game would come down to Kansas versus Kansas State, and Kansas would win.
It's unfortunate that KU.
Don't you think that would lead to like a warring like battle inside you? Like, do you ever?
I would love if there was a rivalry there, but historically they're just not. Like,
well, they just unfortunately are always good at football or basketball. Opposite
separate
of each
things,
other.
opposite.
K-State's been good at football. KU's awful at it. KU's good at basketball. K-State's not great at it.
Has Kansas ever been great at
historically
football?
Like that for, huh?
Has Kansas ever been great at football?
yeah,
They were
They were
like
a couple of years in
the late
in
2000s.
the late 2000s.
Okay.
In 2008, they won the Orange Bowl and they made it to the number. They were the number 2 team in the nation at one point, and then they lost to Missouri, and that kind of dropped them out of contention for the. They if they would have beat Missouri, they would have been in the national championship. But then they lost to Missouri, and they ended up playing in the Orange Bowl versus Virginia Tech, and they won. But
And now all of a sudden, like KU's been like one of the worst programs in the country for
But
the
then
last
they're-
like, 3 or 4 years.
but then
Yeah, that's why I was like, do they?
but then their coach got accused of racism, and then was basically forced
Whoa,
out.
whoa, racism in Kansas.
How dare they?
What?
I loved it.
There's an awful lot of honkies there. Awful lot of honkies.
All I know is that Kansas loves them some Jesus.
Driving through Kansas, there is a Jesus little thing in the wheat fields. Like every quarter
mile. Jesus loves you. Jesus hates pornography.
Around Goodland, Kansas, you see a billboard of Jesus standing in the wheat field, just kind of like smiling at you.
And then
That's a real thing.
Once you
It's
get
a very
God.
real thing, and it's terrible.
Once you get a little past the line on your way to Manhattan, there's a giant sign that says "Pornography destroys families. Jesus heals,"
Right in front of a porn shop.
which they've recently renovated. It's actually a really nice looking shop now.
From the outside or the inside? Come on, tell us what you
Yeah.
really do when you go to Kansas.
If we're going to start talking about the ridiculousness of Kansas, we could just be here all day. But let's just move on.
To Justin's
Wildcats.
forte, fighting.
Fighting. UFC talk right here.
So recently, why don't you tell us about little Conor McGregor versus Mayweather news?
A months ago, it started where people were talking about McGregor versus Mayweather. Now, everybody that knew anything knew that was complete horseshit and it wasn't going to happen. Well, Vegas disagrees with you
It might now.
because
Is what you're saying?
2 days ago, now open for wagering, boxing match only, Conor McGregor a plus 1,100 and Floyd Mayweather a minus 2,500 favorite.
Which what that says, for all you who
explain
don't
that to-
understand, is that is a 25 to 1 chance that McGregor wins that fight.
Well, actually, technically, a 25 to 1.1.
I mean,
Exactly.
it gets a little wonky. Basically, what it means is to make $100 on Floyd Mayweather Jr., you have to put down $2,500. To make $1,100 by betting on Conor McGregor, all you have to do is put down $100. Which I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys a little bit of information that makes it so that putting down that $100 on Conor McGregor is not a bad idea. It's actually a rather sound investment. Now, Floyd Mayweather is amazing. I'm not taking anything away from what he's been able to do in the boxing ring. But
Outside of the boxing ring, that guy is not a very nice human being.
oh, dude, I hate him. He beats women.
Yeah, but we're not
He's
gonna
an
talk
asshole,
about
but-
him as a person because
As a
that's all-
boxer, he's flawless.
Whoa, flawless is a stretch.
He's 50-0.
Well, I wouldn't. Well, flawless
That's
is
pretty much the
flawless as far
definition
as
of
his record,
flawless.
but if you actually go as far as an actual boxer, that guy doesn't have any power behind his punches. He's a great person that you can't hit.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
That's
That's
exactly
not flawless though. He
So,
can't.
when I say
he
flawless, I mean he has
will
a
not-
flawless record.
Well, and I'd say in that fight, and this is coming from somebody who doesn't know a lot about fighting, and I'm slowly getting into it because you're into it, so I'm kind of watching it. But from what I've seen, the handful of fights I've seen of Mayweather and the handful of fights I've seen in the UFC and McGregor, Mayweather has no power behind his punches.
He'll
can
touch
hit.
you up. He touches
Yeah,
you up
he'll-
the entire
yeah,
fight.
he'll-
He's fighting a point game.
But I've seen McGregor, and if he can get a clean hit on Mayweather, he's gonna knock him the fuck out.
If he touches him
Yeah,
with
but
that
that's
left
a
hand,
that's a huge if because in 50 matches, no one's been
Exactly.
able to get a clean hit on Mayweather.
Well, people have. It's just
yeah, but not
People have,
not
but
not enough to keep him down for the
like
count.
the people that had a shot, like Victor Ortiz, he had the. That was a rough one. I don't know if you guys watched that, but that was 3 years ago. Floyd Mayweather versus Victor Ortiz, and like Victor Ortiz like did a little headbutt and caught him.
Oh, I remember
by
that,
accident, and he said, "Hey, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry." You know,
And then he
went to-
clocked him,
He
right?
went to shake it, like do like a little like shake with the gloves real fast. Mayweather out of nowhere, boom, hit him, knocked him to sleep. That's the only knockout he has in his last. I don't want to talk out of my ass on this one, but I want to say 15 fights. I'm gonna say 9. I'm gonna say 9 fights because 15 sounds a bit.
I mean,
much.
how much power can you really put behind a guy who trains just as a boxing? What is he, 150 pounds?
He's 150 pounds soaking wet, maybe.
Yeah, but that's I don't know. That's just the thing for me. Like McGregor with that article you posted on our Facebook page, he was talking a whole bunch of shit about how he would put him to sleep if he landed a hit on him, and I would just like, in my mind, it's just
If
like
you landed a hit,
it's like okay, great, you might, but that's a big if, considering the fact that like some of the best boxers in the world have not been able to fucking land a solid hit on that guy.
But I think that's where Conor McGregor's forte comes in handy because he's not a typical boxer. He's going to come in at angles because that's one thing with fighting. Fighting is all about angles. And a Conor McGregor is going to come at you at different angles.
it's going to be unorthodox as shit, something that
Exactly.
Mayweather hasn't seen.
Because he'll walk towards Mayweather with his hands down. Picture that. What is Floyd Mayweather going to do when a guy walks at him like this? He's not going to be able to comprehend
At the same
that.
time, too, Conor McGregor's got a chin on him.
He's got
Those
a
last
chin.
couple of fights that he's had with what's his name? That last one they had. That we've
Eddie
had
Alvarez.
The last 2 that we've had.
Oh, Nate Diaz. He had
Diaz.
the 2 Diaz
Those guys
fights.
were bloody to shit.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you can't say for sure how that would turn out, but could you imagine putting Mayweather in a fight where that's where it got to?
I honestly think if that was where it got to though with Mayweather versus with McGregor, I just feel like it would just come to a decision. It would be Mayweather because if it got to the point where it was like just trying to wear one person down, like the only way I can see McGregor actually winning that is if he lands a shot on Mayweather that puts him out. Otherwise, Mayweather's gonna just dodge like he usually does and land the shots that'll get him the decision in the end.
I think it's gonna finally be if and when it finally happens. I think it's gonna be it's one of the funner matches you'll watch Mayweather ever in because his fights are boring as shit.
Oh god,
Yeah, the
they
Pacquiao-
are. The
I-
Pacquiao fight.
I remember,
it was
yeah,
painful.
I paid $50 to stay
It
at a
was
bar and watch
painful to
that, and
watch.
it was just Pacquiao going after him while he just. But that's kind of why I say
And
that.
the thing that's kind of fucked up
Pacquiao
about
is
that
the-
fight is
One
that
of the
Pacquiao,
best fighters in the
Pacquiao
world
was
couldn't hit
injured.
him.
Yeah, he
Pacquiao was injured.
Yeah, but
It's been
but-
documented.
I mean, they wouldn't let him take what was it, like the steroid shot? It was something to help with the pain, wasn't it? They wouldn't let him do it.
The cortisone.
Yeah, they wouldn't let him do it because for the pain or something because it was going to give him an advantage or some shit or something. I don't know. It was something silly. I remember.
I don't know. I just see like Conor McGregor. He just talking a lot of shit because he wants it to happen because he wants to get paid.
Well, and
that's
I'm
why that's why it may happen because Mayweather want. I mean, you can say no to money for a while, and then when people are offering you couple $100 million to
When
actually
this
just
fight
one
happens,
fight.
they're both going to make over $200 million. I can guarantee that right now. The
But
biggest
honestly,
thing
what
is-
does Mayweather
will
have?
they
What is
both?
wait? Yeah, what does Mayweather have to lose? Like you'll win 200 million, or you're gonna get 200 million, probably just for showing up. So if he loses, he could be like, "Well, someone beat me when I was over 40, and I'm now 50-1."
But
Like,
then at the same
and,
time,
and I got
that's-
200 more million.
At the same time, though, that's a huge thing to lose. Though, is his perfect record. Is it worth really putting a perfect record up against somebody who's been talking shit for months?
depends on how greedy
Just
you are.
to and I see that's the thing is I don't think the fight.
It really depends on how greedy
That's
you
the
are.
one thing I think will keep.
He
the fight
doesn't
from
need
happening.
that. He doesn't need. No one needs another 200 million.
I think that's what's going to keep the fight.
If you had
from
one
happening.
$200 million payday in your life, then you'd never need another one.
Well,
But
and
if
know
you
more-
want one,
you know.
yeah.
What is McGregor's biggest payout's been? What, $3 million?
no. No.
Well, the actual purse was. It was all the stuff afterwards he got paid more of.
Yeah, I mean, I
actual
know that
purse was
last
like
year
3.5 or something like that.
they put out the numbers, and I want to say last year he fought
Either way,
times.
Either way, the
and
point I was going to make was
he pulled in $50 million just off fight money.
The point I was going to make though is like his biggest payday has been nothing compared to what Mayweather has. So when you ask like what does Mayweather have to lose, he really has a lot to lose. If he actually loses, he's not. I mean, he'll still get paid a lot, but he gives up his perfect record. The person who has everything they gained in this is McGregor. If he beats him, he looks amazing. If he doesn't, he just talked a bunch of shit.
Yeah,
it's just another UFC fighter.
I'm just a UFC fighter. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I lost another fight. It happens in the UFC, but in boxing, I mean, boxing is already a dying breed of a sport to begin with, anyway. And Mayweather is one thing to cling on, besides him just being a douchey
But I think
millionaire.
that's what would drive him to fight is to justify boxing amongst the
But it won't,
rise
though.
of MMA.
He'll be if he beats McGregor, it won't matter though. That's nobody cares about boxing.
I guess from my perspective, I feel like that if he wins, then like like you said, he legitimizes his own sport versus the UFC, which is becoming a more popular sport and has become like for years now. But then at the same time,
$4.2 billion for an organization. Yeah, it's a fast growing.
Yeah,
thing.
it is, and it's more entertaining than boxing, which that's my opinion, and that I feel like that's everyone's opinion here. But anyway, it would legitimize his sport if he beats someone like McGregor. And then that's why I say he doesn't have much to lose, because if he loses to someone like McGregor, he say, "Oh, I lost to a younger guy when I'm in my 40s, already 50, up to that point, and he's gonna get $200 million anyway." Like I think one loss. Even if he did, I still think he would win, and obviously the Vegas odds.
The biggest thing about it is the reason
one loss
he would
I
want
would
to do
say
it
was
is because he likes talking shit, and he likes
money.
Yeah. And he likes money a lot.
And $200 million is a lot of money.
He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to give McGregor any of it though. He doesn't think McGregor deserves any of it.
Yeah, he really doesn't. I mean, his first offer, I want to say, is
he'd get $20 million or something like that.
No, I think it was less than that. I want to say it was 10.
Maybe it was a small.
It was a huge low ball, and he was
is
like,
absolutely crazy to me how much money people make on like one fight. Like the Pacquiao Mayweather fight was ridiculous. Just two men making more money than like entire football.
But
teams
then you
do.
get down to like the lower known
one
people
fight.
and brand new, like a person that's fresh to the UFC. These people, these guys, these men are getting paid pennies on the dollar, and it's a rough thing to see in a sport that you love. Like I love the sport of MMA because I love the competition that you see, because you're legitimately seeing the base of every other sport to its rawest
Well,
form.
it's like modern day gladiators.
Yeah, I've said that a million times. It's
Except
the
they're
only
not fighting-
difference between
they're just not fighting to the
the only
death.
difference between like the Roman Colosseum and
fighting
now
to the
is
knockout.
there's not a Roman Colosseum.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that's what that. I mean, I guess that's what you could say the octagon is. It's a small Colosseum.
It's just the one thing that bothers me about it is that there are people that are going out there putting their health, their brains, all this stuff on the line for such a low amount of money for like the lower fights, and it's not a good thing. It's not healthy for the sport.
No, it's not healthy for the people, but that I mean, you could say that about football too. Like people are going professional.
Well, what's the lowest professional football player making?
Like $50,000, $100,000 a year.
Really, that low?
Some players don't make very much.
It's
Especially
a couple 100,000. I think is the league minimum.
Well,
nowadays,
those
but
like some
I
of
want to say the league minimum is 350.
it might be.
those
I don't
veteran
know.
contracts
I
are
haven't
pretty
looked.
low.
Yeah, but they
Especially if you're like a veteran like kicker or punter, you're not making jack shit.
yeah, but we're talking about like minimums going into it, because like the average life of an NFL player is 3.5 years, and so they
MMA fighter can be shorter or longer than that. It kind of depends, but
yeah, but I mean, honestly, I would never advise anyone to go into either sport.
I would hands down give somebody the green light for MMA over football.
Over football, actually, I would, because football is. Yeah,
'cause you look at people who are
It's-
jiu-jitsu
it just-
greats, and you're just like, okay, this guy's not going to get punched in the face a lot. He's got a good future ahead of him.
yeah, because MMA could be a lot more about like grappling and actually without actually taking the kind of head trauma that people in football just take on every play. Like running backs in football, it's like I think there was a study that said it was like getting into a 20-mile-an-hour crash every time you fucking like hit.
Yeah,
a defender
I heard that exact same thing.
It's even worse for the linemen too.
Oh, Jesus Christ, it is. Tell me about it.
Yeah, but
My
those
knees will tell you that.
well, yeah, but like head trauma wise, those running backs will just run into defenders after like a 5-yard head start. With the quickness that they have, they can accelerate so fast and just run straight into a flat line. It's like a 20-mile-an-hour car crash, like 20 times a game.
So to end this here, do you think it's going to happen? Yes or no? And if it did, who do you
How
think
much
would
money
win?
are you putting on it?
Who do you think would win?
Honestly, if I put any money on it, I would put it on McGregor just because that's the smart money. Like,
Yeah.
But do you think the fight's going to happen?
smarter
And who
than
do you think would win if they fought? On the little that either of us know of fighting.
I think if enough money's getting thrown at Mayweather, it will happen. And if McGregor really wants to do it, which he wants to do it because he wants the publicity and wants the money as well. But I'd say it's going to happen. Just I don't know. There's just too much money for it not to happen. So, and I put my money. I'd put my money on McGregor because that's where the smart money is. Because I could win a lot more if I just put a little bit on there. But I think Floyd Mayweather would win it, hands down. It would be by decision though.
I think it's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to happen soon, but I think it's going to happen probably, I'd say, in the next 6 to 9 months or so, somewhere in that ballpark.
Well, he's
mean-
having a kid in March or May. I know it's an M month.
Here, quick.
Yeah. So McGregor's
so
going
let's
to have
say-
the kid
so-
be born and then probably
So
wait
let's
3
say
months before
9
he
to
can go
12
into camp.
months. I'd say he's probably going to give himself some time with his child, but he's going to probably start training for it. There's going to be a lot of talks, a lot of conversation for contracts, money, everything. So I'd say 9 to 12 months. I say it's going to happen. I feel confident just with what's happening that it's going to happen, and I'm kind of with the Joel. If I had to put money, I'd say I'd put my money on McGregor because I can afford to spend $100. I don't have $1,100 to spend to make $1. So, and I think I want to give it to McGregor. I've watched enough UFC with you. I've watched enough of McGregor. I've watched what that guy can take, and I think in Mayweather's
I just don't think it's
latter
worth-
career, any athlete is going to lose a step, is going to lose some speed, is going to lose some power. And no matter how much training he does, I don't think he's going to be able to keep the same speed and elusiveness and quickness that he's had in all of his fights his entire career against somebody who's, what is McGregor, 29, 28?
Yeah, I want to say he's 29.
I mean, he's in his prime.
He's like a year and a
Mayweather's
half older
40.
than me.
So who would you put your money on? Somebody who
I watched Mayweather play Pacquiao or just fight against Pacquiao just a couple of years ago, and he was pretty fucking.
But they were
quick.
also in the latter end of their career. They're not fighting McGregor, who's in the prime of his career, who's
That's
got
a UFC fighter, not a boxer. And,
But
and
he's
he-
getting-
and he's going to be
Who
going
has-
for.
who was an amateur boxer.
Yeah, but he's going to be going
But
for the.
see,
He's going to be going for the knockout the whole time, and all Mayweather. The only reason I say Mayweather is going to win is because McGregor knows that the way he's going to beat. Or McGregor knows that the way he's going to beat Mayweather is with a knockout, and so why would Mayweather do anything except for avoid that, and then just land enough punches
But
to
that's
get him
why
the
I
decision?
said.
But
I don't
can
think
he
I
do
don't think
that?
he can keep
I
up
think he
any
can.
of the speed he's had for the last few years. And McGregor's in his prime. He's strong. He's quick. He's fast. And like I said, that guy's got a chin on him. That guy's got knocked.
When McGregor beat Jose Aldo, sorry, Brazilian watchers, I know they're on today. He said, precision beats power and timing beats speed. So he doesn't have to be the fastest guy out there. And he doesn't have to be the strongest, even though he definitely will be the stronger of the two.
Oh, he'll be significantly
But
stronger than Mayweather.
he can find that point on a person's head that just shuts the lights out.
But that's kind of what I'm saying. Like that's the only way I can see McGregor winning is if,
Oh, yeah,
if
he's not gonna
if
win.
timing-
He's not gonna
'cause
win.
Timing will have to beat speed. He'll just have to land the right punch at the
He's
right
not
time.
going
It's
to
going to
win
be
a
a
decision.
one.
I'm going to say that he's not going to win a decision.
Yeah.
It's not
Mayweather
going to
will win a
happen.
decision. I see it going to a decision.
If
but
it doesn't go to
if it
decision,
doesn't-
it goes to McGregor.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I say it's going to happen. I say September, 7 months from right now. And I'm going to put at least $300 down on McGregor because I just like these two men, I like money. and I want to make some.
It's the same kind of odds that I bet on with the Kentucky Derby. Like I always go for the long, the long shot.
Real quick before we go on to the next subject, which I think is our last.
Put a little bit
Is
of
there a
money and I
last?
can get a lot of win.
Last subject? I think?
Last subject.
So before we go to last subject, tell you a quick story really quick because this is ridiculous how much money Joel almost made.
Oh, yeah. It was like 2013, I want to say. I don't know. It was the Kentucky.
A few years ago.
Yeah, it was the Kentucky Derby a few years ago, and I just I realized that I was betting, or I had $50 on this Bovada site, which is a betting site if you aren't familiar with it, and it was something that I just had in an account that has been out there for years, and I forgot about it. And then I was like, oh, I still have $50 because I used to use it for online poker, and so I just decided on the Kentucky Derby I'm going to bet on this 50-1 shot, and it was the year that I want to say his name was like Golden Orb won, but so I bet on this 50-1 shot, and he literally lost by half a length. I would have won $2,500 on one bet, just like
$50.
just kind of like I was
$50 you didn't even know he had anymore.
Yeah, it was just kind of like it was like throwaway money for me, and all of a sudden it had been out on the internet for like 5 years, and I just like decided, oh yeah, let's just put it on the who's 50-1. Oh yeah, that guy. Let's go with that.
Yeah, you're like, I mean, it's basically money that you don't have.
If I would have just put it on him to place, I would have won $1,000. But I put it on him to win because I was like, fuck it all in, because I was also drinking that night. And
alcohol helps you, kids.
Yes, but it would have won me $2,500.
So essentially, money that came out of nowhere almost turned into $2,500.
Yeah.
And what is a race? A race? 2 minutes? A minute?
Yeah. But anyway, so call segue into a TV show that we're all very excited about, and we've all actually seen now, and we don't know what the fuck is going on. Legion. It's an FX show that if you're not familiar with it, it's an FX show based on a kind of obscure comic character from the X-Men. As of now, there's no recognizable mutants in the show that are not David Haller, aka Legion, and
so if you're
and
average,
it doesn't really connect to the X-Men universe, the cinematic universe, or anything like that. It's its own standalone thing, which is great.
I think they're going to throw in like a weird tie at the like season finale. I think is how it's going to close out.
They could.
We'll see. I'm excited.
If you're your casual comic book / nerd reader that you just kind of watch X-Men when it comes out, this won't really pertain to you just because it doesn't have Wolverine, it doesn't have Jean Grey, it doesn't have Professor X, it doesn't have the characters you would expect in a mutant cartoon or I guess show. So this is definitely something that was geared more towards obscurity because it's a different character.
So if you don't know the comic character, Legion in the comics is the estranged son of Professor X that he never knew he had. And basically, he is kind of on the same level as Jean Grey when it comes to power, which is he is one of the more powerful mutants in the world.
That's ever lived. Actually.
Yeah. But that's because in the comics, he has multiple personality disorder, but every one of his multiple personalities, which he doesn't know how many he has a different power. So it's kind of like he had an infinite number of powers within himself, and they all manifest themselves as their own distinct personalities.
But he can't control all of the powers because he can only control them while he has that personality that's running his mind.
Exactly, and it's kind of like, I mean, there's a lot of up and down in the comics, but it's kind of a great perspective that they put on this because I've been saying this for a long time, and I honestly believe this, that comic books themselves have been kind of had a stigma about them, even since Marvel has become great and everything like that, but they get put in their own category where comic books are, it's like, this is a comic book show, this is a comic book movie, but really they have their own distinct story types within themselves, and this is a great example of it because it's not like a superhero show. It's not about a guy who really just because he has his powers.
Too much farther in the spoiler alert, just in case. If you haven't watched Legion, stop.
I swear to God, if you say anything from episode 2, I'll kill you.
No, stop listening right now. Because you don't want because we're going to talk about the pilot episode.
We'll talk about the pilot, yeah.
Yeah, good call.
Shut her down right now.
I'll put a graphic like probably like right Here.
It's a banner, David Banner.
But
But
I'm using iMovie, so it's not going to be fancy, so sorry.
anyway, the thing I love about this though is that FX was the perfect network for this, and basically they're just going on
They got
the
the
fact
movies.
that he is a very complex character, and the whole show is about the
Do you feel like
complexity
they're
of his own
squandering
mind.
their MA rating, though? Like, I didn't see anything really MA. Like, granted, this is only first episode talking. I didn't see anything MA other than
No,
the
I
chick
think it's
stuck
maybe
in the-
preparing people for what's to come.
I mean, I want a couple more shit.
there was a little violence.
If I could get a fuck or two, it happens every now and then on FX.
Well, that's not going to happen on FX. No, it's
No, it happened all the time. It happened, I want to say, like 5 times on Sons of Anarchy.
I don't know.
It's a fact.
I don't know. I'm
gonna say it's
fact
not.
check you because I think
Okay.
you're a liar.
Okay, fact check me.
It's okay because I remember Nip Tuck on FX was basically porn. They couldn't.
Oh,
they,
yeah, it
they, they
was.
couldn't. They couldn't say fuck, but they could be fucking like literally on screen fucking while bleeping the word fuck out, which was the dumbest thing to me. But no, the whole first episode was not very. It was not very MA.
It didn't give you, not very MA. It didn't give you a lot of information other than the fact that you thought you were going crazy just like
But that's the
him.
great part of the show. That's my favorite thing is it's from his perspective, and you're seeing the world as he sees it, and it makes you feel insane in that hour that you watch.
Because it's really hard to grasp what's actually happening and what's
no,
not
I
happening.
still don't know what's
because
real.
the character also doesn't know what's happening and what is happening.
But that's
I know, which you see that when he's talking with the guy that's interviewing him, and you see how like his stories fall apart. It's really a weird thing.
or
like,
come together.
I mean, it
See,
see, that's
that's
fall apart.
the-
I mean,
But
well,
that's-
shit. I don't even know.
But that's the great thing is like it's exploring his paranoid schizophrenia, which is a result of his powers. But the paranoid schizophrenia itself, like to the person that's experiencing it, everything that they're experiencing is
Seems very real.
to them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why it's great because it's an incredibly confusing first episode, and it's also very interesting and very real to David, and that's why it's kind of real to us and very confusing to us.
He also
Yeah.
seems like he doesn't actually know what's real and what's not because, as far as he's known most of his life,
Oh, he doesn't.
he doesn't actually have powers. These are all things that have happened because of his paranoid
But he doesn't-
schizophrenia or the meds he's on or the things. Because to him, he's told he has a mental issue, and it's not because of his powers. It's because he just has a mental issue, and that's why he's in this essentially insane asylum.
But there was like the bout when he was in that argument with his girlfriend that he flashes back on, and he's in the kitchen and makes everything fly around him. But that's the thing for him is like he doesn't know if that was even real. He doesn't know if that was him. Did he actually do that, or was that just a figment of his imagination? And so it's like, he doesn't know if he really actually has powers or if he is just crazy.
Or that flashback where he's in the cop car where he just kind of loses his mind and all of a sudden the windows break out of the car.
And even when they were talking, like he at the very beginning, that was a great beginning too. Where they going from him being a baby, and
Oh,
like,
yeah.
all the way through him
Great
hanging,
montage.
all the way through him hanging himself. But
Yeah.
even when they,
Which him hanging himself is how much before like him being in the insane asylum?
they said he had been in there for a few years.
Okay.
Probably at least a couple of years.
Yeah.
Okay.
They said he had been in there for a few years because the first scene was with him talking to his sister and that like kind of interrogation part. But
Oh, that's his sister.
yeah, they said that in the first one.
Sorry, I may or may not have been editing the last episode while we were while I was watching that episode. Sorry, I'm a multitasker.
No.
It's I like the episode. I like the show so far. It's kind of hard to tell whether I don't think you can really put a title on whether it's a great show or a bad show yet.
It's an
because-
incredibly interesting show.
It's
It'll-
interesting
yeah.
at this point. Yeah,
and that's what I was getting at. It's
Yeah.
a really good show. You can tell there's a lot that it can
just-
possibly offer.
I just want to see more.
But it really, it pulls you in, but it's kind of really hard to tell whether or not you want to continue to watch it or not because you don't really know what's happening. And for some people who don't have their instant gratification,
Yeah, it almost makes
it's
me want to
this
go to
isn't- yeah.
the Netflix way of
Yeah,
watching things.
this is definitely not
Well,
going to be your show.
I actually had that discussion with Stacy today. We were talking about because we watched the second episode and we're like, man, I really wish I could just binge watch this shit right now because I'm so confused about what's happening. I don't want to wait every guy. And it's only 8. The first season's only 8 episodes, so we're not really gonna have to wait long. But you just
but it's still 8 weeks of every week.
I'm used to
not
like things
knowing what's
like Daredevil and Luke Cage come out, and I can just binge that in like a day and a half
Oh,
because
yeah.
I get way too into that shit. But
Yeah.
but no, this is a very intriguing show. I wish I could binge it.
Most important thing I do want to throw out there that we do know the official terms. We can't say multiple personality disorder anymore. It's not what it is. It's dissociative identity disorder.
Yeah, but when he was in the comics, it was multiple personality disorder.
I know,
Well,
because
and in
that
the
was
show,
the-
it's,
but we're not
it's
in the 90s
paranoid
anymore.
schizophrenia too.
well, no,
so.
that because that's he has. I don't think he's been diagnosed with
No,
with
he's only
dissociative identity disorder. I don't think they've.
schizophrenia is what he's been
I think that
diagnosed
we're
with
about to
in the
find out.
show.
I think that what's the girl's name? The girlfriend.
Sid?
I think that we're about to find out that that's the first personality that is manifesting itself outside.
It's very hard to tell. Like I feel like we're not going to know until the end. But
I
it's
didn't
like-
even realize
like,
what happened in that first episode. That when they finally touched, because you know how she has that weird issue of touching, that they changed bodies.
Or
It
did
was
they not
probably
change bodies at all?
It was like 10 minutes after. I was like,
as of now,
did
that's
they?
what we.
That's
think
what we
has
know.
happened.
Yeah,
I know. But it's
But see, for me,
but at the end of that show, nothing is
no,
cement.
you're very
Because that could also be him just not understanding what really happened in his like
Yeah,
a
just
disillusion
her
of
taking
what
you
Well,
remember
happened.
you remember the very last scene when they're escaping,
Yeah.
right? And they're going through there and like everyone's taking out everybody.
That was
And-
crazy.
In my
that
mind,
had me questioning what was
in
really
my
happening.
but in my mind, I think that all of those mutants that helped him escape, they're all part of his
him.
own personality. And
Oh,
that's,
yeah, I could
like there was
definitely
that
see that
one guy
happening.
with the telekinesis that was like throwing people around and everything.
that was
I
awesome.
think that was just all him. That in my mind, and we'll see.
what
a
a mind fuck that would be if that's what happened.
But that was just all him. Just
No, no,
because it
I-
ended
I-
with him asking, so I have to know, is this real? Are you really here? And it's like, I don't know now. I'm watching it. I don't know.
Am I watching this?
And then
Am I
she
in this?
swears
I
to
don't
him
know
that
what's
it's
going on.
real, and he looks back and he sees the yellow-eyed devil.
that little monster.
He was in
blob
the
thing.
little cave down back to the left in that very
Yeah,
last scene.
it was
And
just
it's just
sitting there.
like, is it real?
All I know,
But that-
I'm
that's
gonna
what
watch
really-
the first episode like 3 times, and I'm gonna watch the second episode like 4 times.
I watched the first one twice. And
yeah, I watched
I
it.
watched the second one today, and it's still really.
Yeah.
I'm at the same. I'm at the
I watched,
same.
I watched the second one
I'm-
today
I-
too, and I'm also just like, it didn't really give you
I
any
don't
more. It's
know
like, I
it's
still don't know what's
real.
happening.
Yeah. So I love it. I fucking love the show so far, but mostly because it's gonna keep me intrigued for the
The
entirety of
one
it.
knock I'd say you can give it right now is if you're instant gratification, this isn't going to be the show for you. I'd wait till 8 episodes are out and watch them straight.
Yeah,
But the other thing is, there's not a really solidified plot yet. You just because you don't really know what's happening. Which for people who are like hardcore critics about things and they really, the story does this, the protagonist does this, antagonist does this. That's not fruitioned in this show yet. It hasn't really showed its head because you don't really know what's happening. So
yeah, but
you gotta give
that's
it a
kind of a
chance.
model that's gone by the wayside in the recent years. Anyway, Game of Thrones kind of threw that shit out the window.
I'd say if
many
you,
years
if
ago.
if you can take away impatience, this is a good show so far. Like I said, you're in episode 2. I watched episode 2. You haven't watched it yet, but the second one leaves you on just as much of a cliffhanger and really no understanding of what's happening as the first one did.
Which I hope they don't overplay, because I mean, there's a certain point that you have to deliver.
No, it's just that
A period. You have to deliver a.
without giving any spoilers away, that's just that the second one kind of explores his own background and his memories of his background, and those seem kind of skewed as well. So it's just like that's kind of why you're like, I don't know what's actually his memory or what he's just.
And if
what
they're
you can
real,
chalk
this
up
kind of adds a little bit to what's happening.
Yeah,
That's
well, you can chalk
Wednesday
up to
nights on
Thursday
on FX.
nights.
Thursday
on
nights.
Thursday nights. On
Thursday
FX.
nights. FX.
Highly recommend.
Check your local
if
local
you like,
listings.
If you like psychological thrillers, especially because this is just all about a guy going through his own psychosis, and you're kind of seeing it from his perspective. So, if
While being a mutant that has superpowers, that makes him, if you already knew beforehand, one of the most powerful mutants that doesn't know he's the most powerful mutant.
you know, it's always been one of my favorite things about X-Men is like when they have really powerful mutants like Jean Grey or Legion, it always comes with a price, and it's usually their own sanity. Like Jean Grey was split when it came to Jean Grey and the Dark Phoenix. She had so much power inside of her that she couldn't cope, and that's kind of what he's going through.
Her body
Like,
almost couldn't
he had-
handle how much power it could actually.
Exactly, but that's kind of what he's going through. He has all these powers inside of him, and they're just, and in the comics at least, it manifests themselves as own distinct personalities because one person couldn't cope with it, even though all these people are inside his own mind. It's crazy, and I love it. But anyway,
You know what's cool is this is just another step towards the other routes that you can go as far as comic books are concerned that aren't your typical Iron Man, Captain America, Batman, things like that.
Yeah.
Like there's other superheroes you can use for
but
stories.
Legion's not really a hero.
No,
he
I'm
never
s-
was. in
But
the
I'm,
comics.
I'm
definitely
saying
That's what
I'm
an
sorry
anti-hero.
as far as the comic books. When people think that
He's a
eventually
character.
at some point they're going to run out, it's going to get diluted, it's going to get watered down, it's going to be the same thing. It's not, because look at this character. This is completely different from what you would expect from. And if you didn't know that this was X-Men, if this was not even X-Men, but a comic book, a mutant, you would never know this was even affiliated with Marvel.
Now, because FX is running the show, would it be possible for us to see Legion in an X-Men down the road?
I think technically, but it's kind of muddy because actually Marvel Television is helping produce the show. So
So maybe.
I think basically what they've done with it is they're saying Legion's its own thing. It's
Okay.
independent. It's
Well,
they're not even going to
Do
bring.
you think that it could get to a point where, say it does become a smash hit? Do you think that there's any chance that in the future it could kind of?
I mean, maybe, but honestly, they don't really know what they're going to do with the X-Men universe at this point.
It's true.
After Logan, who really knows what's going to happen? Which we'll be talking about that a lot more when it comes out and when we
Next
see
week's
it.
episode, actually, because 2
weeks.
2 weeks, actually. Yeah, because it comes out on what
we're
the-
recording again on the 26th, and we'll have watched Logan by the 5th.
Yeah.
So in 2 weeks,
It'll be a very long show about Logan.
I think we may just do. We might just have to do a separate video for it.
We
For
might.
just Logan,
Yeah, I think we might just do like a fresh, do a review spoiler talk video on.
We're not going
Logan.
to talk about it excessively right now, but it's already getting.
Yeah, we already talked to the first episode, which you can go back and check out about how excited we are for Logan. And once we actually get to see it, we will get into full spoilers and talk about everything. So we'll also preface that before we actually get into the spoilers.
I'll just put.
But it's already getting rave reviews, so I was excited last week for
yeah,
it.
IGN gave it a 9.7. Nothing I've seen has been giving it below a 9.
It's essentially from what I has the perfect movie.
Yeah, which is great praise to hear about a movie that I had such high hopes for.
We won't talk about it anymore, but in 2 weeks.
All right. So check out Legion FX Thursdays, or probably on demand with whatever subscriber you have now. Yeah,
Think that about wraps it up for today.
I think that wraps it up.
Switch out on the 3rd. NCAA tournament starting on the 14th.
Logan comes out on the
McGregor Mayweather.
McGregor Mayweather
Who the
to
fuck
be determined.
in a year.
I still say
or less.
September. And then Legion every Thursday on
First 2
FX.
episodes are already out. The third one will be out by the time you hear this episode, probably, or close to it. All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. As always, don't forget to like and share on YouTube and Facebook. Also, leave us a comment with anything that you would like to hear from us, any suggestions you may have for the show. Let's see. We're also out on iTunes now. So if you are one of the listeners there, we would love if you could leave us a review and subscribe to our show. All these actions just take like a minute, and it really helps us out, and it helps us to be a better show for you guys. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time on the BV Dub Show.
Bang, bang. I don't know what to do after that, guys.
That's a wrap.